It all kicks off in a VIP delivery room where a woman is about to give birth, casually flipping through a magazine. But her patience runs out and she yells at the nurses to get this kid out of her already, all while still reading her magazine. Suddenly, a baby's cry echoes through the place, and a staff member rushes to congratulate the grandfather. Then everyone starts congratulating Miss Liu, who thanks his guests for their kindness. He then asks a maid where Shiquan is, and she replies that the young master had some business to attend to on Earth. The boy's grandfather is furious at his own son's absence, calling him a complete deadbeat. Just then, a strange scream comes from inside the delivery room, startling everyone outside. Worried about the situation, Misery, Liu stands up and asks what the heck is going on in there. Meanwhile, in the room, the mother is in shock from the bright light shining right in front of her. Upon entering the room, the grandfather and his men are completely frozen in place. The light was coming from the newborn, who was covered in yellow lightning, and seemed to be having a great time with it all. The baby thinks that no one would have ever guessed a commoner would be reincarnated into this family and even awaken a divine sense. A system screen appears, informing him that the lightning-type divine sense has been activated with sea-level power. The grandfather is stunned because his grandson was just born with a power he himself could never achieve. Dropping his cane, the grandfather shouts about the unparalleled, innate divine sense his grandson possesses. Grandfather picks up his grandson and celebrates, declaring that the Liu clan has finally produced a once-in-a-generation genius. However, the baby thinks that he's going to use this chance to take everything from the clan and make sure his father never gets to reincarnate again. The maids comment on how the young master is already smiling and didn't even cry, which is a sign of a noble destiny. The elder promises to use the full power of the clan to raise the boy. The newborn, who is also our protagonist, thinks that the last 6 months since he was taken out by that scumbag have felt like a dream. 1 month after reincarnating, his mother was drinking a special tonic given to her by one of her maids. As soon as she drinks the tonic, a powerful golden light starts to glow all over her body. He gained an accelerated growth ability and reached D level, even as just an embryo. He reflects on how commoners can never match the power of the clans, and how he has already reached a level that many risk their lives to achieve. But our MC wonders what kind of ability this is, as there are no records of accelerated growth. 2 months later, he faced an absorption crisis from the mother's original embryo, but received a reward. Using his accelerated growth, he devoured the original embryo and acquired its innate lightning-type divine sense. He's thrilled to have a lightning-type divine sense, which is one of the rarest elemental abilities. The protagonist plans to use the family's best resources to nourish himself and become even stronger. 3 months later, his lightning-type divine sense had already reached the intermediate stage of power. We see high heels and women's underwear scattered on the floor of his mother's bedroom. On the bed, a couple of pairs of feet are tangled up, getting pretty cozy. We see the woman with a blonde guy while her son is still in her belly. The lover asks if she isn't scared, and the lady says her marriage is just a political arrangement. The fetus overhears the man questioning his paternity, while his mother just asks for more. The MC complains that all this commotion is messing with his energy absorption rate. So, he ends up releasing a lot of energy at once, making her complain that it burned her from the inside. At 6 months, his power hits peak D level, and he understands his mother's constitution. A handsome and serene face is watching. The man observes the woman's belly and wonders when the darn brat is going to be born. Side the womb, the MC opens his eyes and glares at his father with a look full of hatred. Through his vision, he reflects the man's face and calls him a filthy mutt. In a flashback, we see the young man in his past life being warned about terrible beasts. One of his injured companions tells Brother Liu to get out of there as fast as he can. His friend is defeated and cries out for help, while the young man just watches. Unfortunately, his friend ended up being devoured by a hideous monster while the young man watches it all happen. With a wicked smile, the traitor orders his men to feed the beast to form the spirit core. The man smirks maliciously and mockingly as he watches his victim about to be defeated. At that moment, the young man notices a giant spike coming his way, ready to strike him. His former companion impales him with a huge branch, lifting him into the air without any mercy. The protagonist looked at the wound in his chest, shocked by the betrayal he had just suffered. The scumbag starts laughing hysterically at his enemy's pathetic moment. He mocks him, saying that's what happens when someone like him overestimates his own strength. As he's thrown away, the young man accuses him of tricking him just to feed the beasts. As he's passing on, his only worry is what will happen to his younger sisters. He remembers when he said goodbye to one of them, promising he'd be home soon. Soon after, his past self grabs a weapon and gets ready to leave for a mission. The door closes, and the 3 little girls are left alone, waiting for their brother to return. Looking at the moon through the window, the girls wonder when their big brother will come back. But back in the premises, as a fetus, fills with rage and swears revenge on the one who separated him from his sisters. With his power, the fetus prepares to punch his father, who is just outside. Then the little guy lands a solid punch right in the traitor's face, catching him completely by surprise. The impact of the blow sends the man flying, and the mother is shocked by the kick she felt. The boy's father falls to the ground in immense pain, not understanding what just happened to him. The woman complains that the brat is already acting up before he's even properly born. The grandfather then orders the nurse to check what's happening inside that room. The staff member explains that the young master's talent is extraordinary, so his development is accelerated. She then reveals, startled, that the baby is about to be born and the mother is going into labor. The boy laments that before reincarnating his limit was peak DD level, and now he's close to a breakthrough. In immense pain, the mother screams for them to call the best delivery team as quickly as possible. When he turned 1 month old, the Liu family threw a grand celebration banquet. Several important families from southern Zhao arrive, bringing gifts to celebrate the newborn. During the party, the grandfather watches a violin performance with a maid by his side. Meanwhile, our 1-month-old protagonist is calmly resting in the arms of one of the maids. One of the guests congratulates Master Leo on having a grandson, but the elder seems lost in thought. A guest congratulates the boy's father while the baby stares at the man who took him down in his past life. He becomes furious seeing the enemy who separated him from his sisters and swears revenge right then and there. In his memories, he remembers his younger sisters excited about a giant birthday cake. In his past life, he was on the phone with Brother Chen, who was complaining about him being late for a mission. The young man apologizes, and the traitor thinks that he only hired him because of rumors that he needed money. The man advises him to use his brain, and the young man thanks him for the job opportunity. His sisters waited eagerly to eat the small piece of cake on the table. The older brother says goodbye to one of them, promising he had a job but would be back soon. Then he grabs his weapon, which was kept in a bag, and prepares to leave the house. The door closes and the 3 little girls are left alone, anxiously awaiting his return. From the window, the girls watch the moon while waiting for their dear brother to come back. Elsewhere, a man approaches a glowing portal in the middle of a dark forest. Smoking a cigarette is the same one who was congratulating young Master Ji at the party. Young Master Ji, who appears to be the leader of this dangerous operation. With his subordinates by his side, young Master Ji asks how the mission is progressing. The man informs him that they've been inside for a while and the beasts should be well fed by now. Young Master Ji praises old Chen, saying he was raised well and is always very efficient. Then he turns to his female companion and says they came just for her before leaving. But the woman scoffs, saying he's just another low life from the Ji family trying to climb the ladder. With that, the group of traders approaches the portal to leave the desolate place. Meanwhile, one of our hero's companions warns him about a powerful beast nearby. The young master is surprised that someone is still alive, as he needs more food for the medicine. Old Chen says he doesn't know how that's possible since they were all just D-level soldiers. Suddenly, a very loud noise catches everyone's attention, and they all look in the same direction. The group's leader assesses the situation with a serious look. Soon after, they see that one of the beasts has a fresh wound on its leg. The monster then glares at our hero, who is standing alone in the middle of that desolate place. Despite being exhausted and injured, the young man stands firm, ready for the final battle. At that moment, one of the traders slowly approaches. Young Master Ji demands to know where the thing came from and how it dared to injure his beast. Upon seeing the survivor, young Master Ji is surprised and calls him Yi Chen. The young man turns and calls out to Brother Chen, not understanding what's happening. Yi Chen's friend asks if he brought reinforcements while the enemies flee. Back in the present, the baby vows to avenge the deep blood feud at that very moment. He extends his arms and makes baby noises at the traitor, who watches him intently. The man is speechless and stammers, trying to understand what the baby wants from him. The boy's father says his son wants to be held and that this is the greatest honor of his life. With that, he picks up the baby and thanks him for the reward, while the little one pretends to cry. As soon as the man holds him, the little one starts to release a yellow energy. Then he uses his lightning-type power to give his enemy a really nasty shock. The traitor screams in pain as the electric charge courses through his entire body. From the shock, he ends up dropping the baby, who falls hard onto the mansion floor. The women at the party are startled and look toward the noise. The musicians also stop playing, shocked by all the commotion. The boy's grandfather watches everything with a serious expression. With that, the boy's parents are shocked by what just happened. The little protagonist on the floor, the old man realizes he just made a mistake. The baby starts crying loudly to keep up appearances and fool everyone. The traitor panics at the situation and starts breaking out in a cold sweat, terrified of what might happen. Furious, the grandfather yells at the man for daring to drop the Liu family's treasure on the floor. The coward throws himself on the floor, saying it wasn't him and that the young master acted on his own. But the baby's father doesn't believe him and kicks him hard, calling the guy a dog. The kick is so strong that the man goes flying and lands hard on the mansion floor. He starts to bow and begs his master for mercy. He swears he would never hurt the boy and offers his treasures to heal him from the fall. The little one's father seems to be enjoying the whole situation and gives a mocking smile. Then the master orders them to drag the man outside and give him a good thrashing. The traitor thanks him for the punishment while the maid picks the baby back up. In the woman's arms, the little protagonist gives an evil, satisfied smirk at the result. With a bruised forehead, the enemy stares on, confused, not understanding what happened. The little one continues to scream and cry loudly to maintain his perfect disguise in front of everyone. The old traitor is shocked again that he started crying again. The grandfather orders the maid to take the young master inside and check if he was hurt in the fall. The elder scolds his son, saying that with the family's status, they don't need a useless bum like that. With a disdainful snort, the head of the family turns and leaves the party, furious about the whole mess. The boy's father is enraged by the old man's words and clenches the glass in his hand with great force. He shatters the glass cup with his bare hands. The host turns and delivers a powerful kick right to the traitor's face. Right after, he kicks him again and orders him to be dragged outside and fed to the house dogs. The guards grab him as he begs for mercy, but no one cares about his suffering. The host tells the guests to continue the party, and the baby thinks about how to absorb more power. The doctor examined the little one and says he has an incredible physique and is perfectly fine. The grandfather laughs and celebrates that his grandson suffered no harm and is in excellent health. But the most important thing for the boy now is to find his 3 sisters he left behind. He needs to grow up fast enough to move and get that woman's essence. The baby starts crying for milk and the doctor. With that, the elder orders them to call his daughter-in-law to breastfeed him and take more spiritual medicine. The boy's mother complains that she just fed him and is already completely exhausted. The family head says she must work hard for the future of the clan and for the good of her son. The woman takes off her coat and prepares to feed the baby once more, against her will. The little one opens his mouth and starts crying as he waits to be fed by his mother. The mother picks him up and stares at him with her red eyes. She starts to breastfeed him and complains that the little rascal is sucking way too hard. Seeing that his daughter-in-law is getting weak, the grandfather orders them to bring her the tonic soup. Soon after, we see the baby taking a bath with his mother in a hot spring. The woman complains that he's been sucking for a long time and asks if she owes him something from a past life. 3 months later, the baby is already crawling around the house and his power has reached sea level. In his past life, it took him a year advance from elementary D level to intermediate. Back then, he took part in many dangerous missions in portals and suffered countless injuries. He's advanced from elementary C level to intermediate in just 3 months by drinking milk. During a family dinner, the little protagonist crawls towards the main table. Furious, the grandfather complains that some idiot wasn't watching the young master and let him run around. The maid apologizes, saying the boy crawls so fast she can't keep up with him. The baby's father jokes that his son must want milk again, and the mother looks exhausted. She complains that the boy has been on her chest for 3 months, and that she needs a break. But the little one thinks he can't waste time and needs to keep getting stronger and stronger. To everyone's surprise, the baby stands up on his own for the first time. The grandfather and the butler are completely shocked to see the unbelievable sight before them. The boy starts walking towards his mother, who watches him, startled. The little one jumps on her, and the mother screams for him to let her eat a meal in peace. The maid is astonished and points out that the young master is standing and walking around the room by himself. The butler comments that the boy has a celestial constitution and his development is extraordinary. The grandfather is pleased to see his grandson can already stand and watches him with pride. Then he says that according to family rules, it's time to select a personal servant for the boy. In a dark place, the elder asks about the results, and a guard says only 2 are left. In his mother's arms, the protagonist is taken to an improvised arena for the test. He watches everything intently when he suddenly recognizes one of the candidates and is shocked. In a cell, a little girl with white hair is in a defensive stance and looks frightened. On the other side, a blonde girl charges forward, yelling to attack and defeat her opponent in the arena. Shocked, the baby wonders what she's doing there, and his body begins to glow intensely. Then he uses his lightning-type power to zap one of the fighting girls. With the force of the shock, the blonde girl goes flying and lands hard on the ground, knocked out instantly. The white-haired girl takes the chance to jump on the bread. Without a second thought, the girl grabs the bread and starts devouring it hungrily in the middle of the cell. Mother's hair is all standing on end. The protagonist panics, hoping no one noticed anything suspicious. The grandfather laughs and says his grandson has a much greater fighting spirit than his own father. The boy thinks that being a kid is useful because adults always make up excuses for him. The elder decides the little girl will be the servant and orders her to be washed and taught etiquette. The little one continues to eat ferociously, not caring about anything else around her. The baby in the crib seems very happy and calls out to his new servant with a smile on his face. Meanwhile, the butler explains that she is a death servant and must protect the young master. The little white-haired girl just nods her head, accepting her new fate. He also says she must follow the master and train in martial arts while he sleeps. With that, the little maid goes to the baby's room to start her new job. Upon arriving, the boy calls to her and points to himself with a very excited smile, but the girl pulls out a knife and her expression changes to one full of hatred and vengeance. The baby panics and tries to speak but can't because of his vocal cords. She says she's going to take him out to avenge her older brother's passing right then and there. The girl raises the weapon and prepares to attack the little one in his crib. The servant lunges with the knife at high speed, ready to hit her defenseless target. However, the boy dodges the blow with incredible agility and jumps out of the crib. He lands on the floor, leaving behind an energy silhouette, much to the girl's surprise. Then the baby reappears beside her, leaving her completely shocked and speechless. Suddenly, the girl starts to release a green aura as she prepares to fight. The protagonist is shocked to see that the girl has a wind-type divine sense. With that, she attacks him with her wind power, but the baby uses his lightning to defend himself. The two energies clash, illuminating the entire room with their vibrant and intense colors. He thinks that using both his powers at the same time is too much for his baby body. He has a brilliant idea to resolve this complicated situation, so the MC points and uses his Thunder Divine Sense at a very low power level. With that, a small spear of lightning hits the girl. The shock paralyzes her for a moment and she falls to the floor, unable to move properly. The little one seems relieved with the result, but is clearly very tired from the effort. Lying on the floor, the servant can still feel the electricity running through her entire body. He approaches carefully and touches the sharp blade. The little one cuts his finger on purpose, and a drop of blood appears on the tip. Then he uses his own blood to write a message on the floor for her. He thinks it's a good thing he's smart and managed to come up with this plan to communicate. Upon reading the message, the girl understands everything, and the baby opens his arms for a hug. But the girl attacks him again, and the baby remembers she can't read yet. He dodges the blow and worries, because if someone sees her trying to attack him, she'll be done for. Meanwhile, the traitor walks through the mansion holding a wooden box in his hands. In a flashback, the boy's father says that he's only alive because he's still useful to him. Lying on the floor, the man thanks the young master for his mercy and promises to work harder. The master says the grandfather is furious, and that he must find a way to please the baby. The man thinks that he sold everything he had to buy a rare item at an auction. Suddenly, he hears the little master's voice, and wonders what's happening in the room. With that, he opens the door and enters the room, calling for the heir of the Liu family. Upon entering, he is met with the scene of the two of them chasing each other around the room. Seeing an opportunity, the baby glares at the man with a dark look and a plan in mind. The traitor is completely confused, not understanding anything that's happening. Then the boy grabs the servant's hand and turns the knife. He uses his lightning power to give the white-haired girl a little shock on her forehead. She falls to the floor, and the baby catches the knife in mid-air, completing his perfect plan. Without hesitation, the baby stabs himself in the shoulder, and the knife becomes covered in blood. The traitor is utterly shocked by the scene and screams in terror, not believing his eyes. Next, the boy throws the bloodied knife towards the man watching him. The poor guy catches the weapon in mid-air and freezes in fear, not knowing what to do. In his shock, he ends up dropping the box he was holding. Then the little protagonist takes a deep breath, preparing for his big performance. Soon after, he starts wailing loudly on top of the fainted girl on the rug. The man holds the bloody knife, completely desperate about the whole situation. At the sound, the grandfather and the others come running to see what happened. The elder and his son stare at the scene with serious expressions. The little one keeps crying and leans on the servant to make it look like he protected her. Furious, the grandfather points at the traitor and accuses him of trying to attack his grandson. The man throws the knife on the floor and tries to defend himself, saying he wasn't the one to blame. But the father doesn't believe him and punches him for daring to hurt his son. Desperately, he explains that the girl attacked the baby, and he defended himself. The baby continues his crying act while the traitor screams in desperation with a bloody nose. He swears to the elder that he's telling the truth, but no one seems to believe his story. The boy's father hits him with another punch and furiously asks where the gift is. Desperate, the man looks for the gift he dropped on the floor during all the chaos. The grandfather praises the little girl for protecting his grandson and orders her to be taken to rest. The elder places his hand on the young master's shoulder, who tenses up. The elder glares at him, his red eyes glowing intensely with rage. He says he taught his son how to raise dogs, but he almost lost the Liu family's hope. The group leaves the room, leaving the traitor kneeling on the floor, utterly terrified. The man starts to break into a cold sweat and tremble with fear of what might happen to him now. Suddenly, the baby's father turns and glares at him with a look full of hatred and contempt. He kicks him hard and says he gave him a chance, but he dared to try and hurt him anyway. The man tries to explain, but the master orders him to be dragged out and fed to the dogs. Seeing his plan succeed, the little protagonist finally sighs in relief at the outcome. With a wound on his shoulder, the little one looks at the unconscious girl on the floor, worried. Just then, the butler approaches and says he needs to take the servant to be treated immediately. But he panics when he remembers he wrote a message on the floor right under her, So the boy lies down on top of the girl and shakes his head to stop the man from taking her. The staff member then picks up the little master, lifting him off the unconscious girl. With that, the butler places him back in the crib while the boy looks very distressed. Seeing that the man is about to pick up the servant, he wonders if he should knock him out with an electric shock. Suddenly, an idea strikes him and he looks towards the maid with a new plan in mind. The staff member picks up the little girl, and a pool of blood is left on the bedroom floor. The protagonist is shocked to see that the servant is also genuinely injured. Seeing the blood stain on the girl's clothes, the butler is also very surprised. The little one is confused by the situation and doesn't understand how she could have gotten hurt. That he takes her outside and orders the young master's room to be cleaned up. Alone in the crib, the boy sighs in relief but wonders what is going on. But he puts it aside as he has more important things to do at that moment. He jumps out of the crib, ready for his next plan. In a massage room, a special oil is being prepared for his mother. The woman then receives a relaxing back massage from one of the housemaids. The boy's mother seems very relaxed, enjoying her rare moment of peace. But the tranquility ends when the little one calls for milk, suddenly startling her. He crawls over to her, and the woman complains that he's here again with his huge appetite. The boy begins to feed, and the mother complains, asking how long he's going to keep sucking. But he needs to speed up his growth so he can talk and explain everything to his servant.